Hey friends, welcome back to the Destination Baby and Kids YouTube channel. This is Gina. I'm your host and I'm here today to go over two strollers with you lovely viewers. So what are we looking at? We're looking at the UppaBaby Vista V2 versus the NUNA Demi Next. So let's launch right into what makes these different and similar. So I have a little cheat sheet here because one thing that we want to highlight between these two products is the pricing differences and similarities. And it's hard for me to remember everything, so I'm going to have my little paper with me to go over that. Now, what I can tell you about is the functionality of these, no problem. So Demi Next, which is the black stroller here on my right, the caviar color, that's their black. This one's going to retail for $950. As you see it, the seat that's sitting on it right now will hold 50 pounds. The stroller on my left is the UppaBaby Vista V2. The color that it's shown in is called Gregory. That's sort of this grayish blue color. This retails for $9.99, and the seat that you see on it right here holds a child that's 50 pounds. One thing that I will give both of these strollers credit for is that the seats themselves are very generous in terms of the overall seat size. So they hold nice, big, older children. So if you've got a bigger 2, 3, 4-year-old and you still want to be able to use the stroller, the seat itself is pretty darn accommodating compared to some strollers that have a much shorter seat. Now, the seats themselves, there are going to be some differences. The UppaBaby Vista is a beautiful looking product, but it's a little bit more utilitarian, meaning that our buckle style on it is traditional, which is a little bit more like what I'm used to from most products. And you have an invisible adjustment here for the shoulder harness height. You do have the foot adjustment on the seat. This is important because the rumble seat, which is sold separately, the second seat for this product doesn't have an adjustable footrest. And as you see, it has a really nice long canopy with an extra gusset. And you have 2 mesh ventilation windows. So all of that's really nice. Additionally, you can raise the canopy for even taller children to get more headroom. So that is beautiful. On the Demi Next, there have been some changes to this seat versus the old model that are actually really, really worthwhile. And I do think it's a more luxurious seat than what you get with the UppaBaby. So NUNA Demi Next is going to still have big canopy. There is a mesh ventilated window like you get over there. You do get an additional gusset, which is great. So if we're going to compare apples to apples, they both come down quite a ways. The thing that's really cool about this new version of this Demi Next, which is the newer model, the Demi Grow was the old model. This Demi Next has the mosquito netting built directly onto the canopy as you see here. So on the UppaBaby, you do get mosquito netting for the seat, but it is a separate thing. And so it is one more thing to lose and to try and keep track of. I love that this is built into the canopy, so that's a very nice feature. And additionally, when we were talking about the Vista V2, I showed you that the canopy had the 2 mesh ventilated windows. Here, some argue, well, you only get 1 mesh ventilated window. The thing that's really awesome about the product itself is the seat liner that's included is removable. And when you take it off, the back of the seat all the way down, for the most part, is mesh ventilation. So you get that on the backrest of the seat, whereas on the Vista, we could add a liner, but it still wouldn't have a mesh backing on the seat. So we get more airflow and ventilation going through. Additionally, what you're noticing here is that the buckles are magnetic. So you get super easy closure. And I love that when you're pressing it to undo it, it's a strike down with your thumb instead of pressing toward your kid's body. So you're going to press down on the gray and the pieces just pop open. So a really nice feature on the Demi Next, I would say, is that the seat is definitely a little bit more bougie, less utilitarian than on Uppa. You also get the adjustable footrest, and it's a one-hand movement on the foot versus 2 over there. New version of this has this footwell as well, which is really nice. So again, both of these hold 50-pound children, and both of them are going to come available to work with a newborn right out of the box. So if you buy their brand car seat, which is sold separately in both cases, so what I mean by that is for NUNA, you would buy a NUNA infant seat, and in the box they would include the piece to make their infant seat, in this case the Pippa Lite RX, work directly on it. Goes on super easily. Now on UppaBaby, when you remove the seat, the frame of the stroller is ready to accept the car seat without any additional pieces. So that can be really nice for some people. So this will go on just like that. This is the UppaBaby Mesa V2 car seat on the Vista. And like I said, over here, we've got the Pippa Light RX. So car seats on both of these are sold separately. They both come in a host of different colors. We're not gonna get into car seat differences today, but it's pretty cool that they're ready to work directly out of the box. Now, where do these products start to get different? They both work with car seat, they both work with stroller seat. UppaBaby, for that $1,000, this is where they sort of deviate. It's gonna come with a bassinet. So this is a feature that's super nice from 0 to 6 months. And people say, oh, they outgrow the weight. No, they start developmentally rolling and pushing up on their hands and knees. And at that point, you discontinue the use of a bassinet. It really doesn't matter which one it is. That's true for all of them. So the bassinet is included here. What's included with the Demi Next is going to be a rider board. So this is actually a piece for an older kid. And just to show, when I hook it up, like, so let's say I have a 4-year-old and a newborn, I can now have an older child, up to 50 pounds, standing and riding and looking at the new baby. So that's kind of cool. Additionally, with that rider board, I'm able to, of course, do the main stroller seat. And of course, with the rider board, I'm going to be able to pop it up and still fold the stroller and lock it without any issue. So really cleverly designed and included in that purchase price of $950. Now, if you want me to fold the Vista with the bassinet on it, you're not supposed to. Theoretically, I could do it. I know how. It's stupid and no one ever does it, so you shouldn't do that. We're just not going to do that, but you could if you wanted to. This will come off though super easily, and the bassinet is collapsible. So again, this piece is included with the Vista. If we wanted to buy it separately with NUNA, it would be a $400 purchase, and it would include a stand. If we're apples to apples and we add a stand to this product, it's going to be $160. So I'm going to keep coming back to the cost because I will give this all at the end, sort of the even Stevens comparison when they all have all the same crap, how much each one is. So getting back to it, NUNA is going to be a stronger value for when you're ready to turn it into a 2-kid system. So obviously, as you saw, there was the rider board. With the UppaBaby, as I said, I should point out too, with UppaBaby, you can buy a rider board, same story, just sold separately. Their preference is to include the bassinet. NUNA's preference is to include the rider board. So when we're ready to turn it into a 2-kid system, this is where NUNA is probably a little bit more cost effective. NUNA includes the adapters for both the top and bottom position. And you're like, what are you talking about? Well, if you have a big 3-year-old and they're sitting in this seat, when you have your new baby, this you can get the prong adapters that came in the box. So these were included when you bought the stroller. They'll hook onto the lower position. They also fold with the seat on it, which is really nice. And the car seat that we owned from before, we can shove down here on the bottom. Whoops. Make it look so easy. There we go. So we put our newborn down here, an older child up here. And if you're like, that is, let me get this Vista out of the frame here. It makes it a little less confusing. If you're like, that's horrifying, I would never want to put my newborn down low. I would say you don't have children yet, because when you have kids, this is much easier to envision doing it. But if you wanted to, I do think the reality of switching these around is actually far more like how I see my customers use this product. So what that means is, if you wanted this baby up high, you can do that, and you can put that seat down on the bottom. And all of this is included in the $950. So we're not having to buy any extra pieces when we're ready to convert it to a 2-kid system. So now I have an option for my older one to sit down low and my little baby to be up here. The older one still has a pretty reasonable amount of sight line. And the other thing is we can recline the seat for them to climb in and out. Now, people are always like, I can't believe any kids like to sit down there. I get it. But if you think back to the station wagons from the 80s that had that seat that sat backwards in the very last row, adults would be horrified to like even have to consider sitting there, but kids would scramble over each other and hit each other to like sit in that position. I feel this is very similar, where it's hard to envision, unless you're a kid, what would be fun and exciting about that. But that's sort of like their own little world. So the other thing to keep in mind here is that each position holds 50 pounds, and it's the same seat in either position. So when I want to do 2 kids, I will be able to do 2 children in 2 identically sized seats. So this other seat that I'm putting on it is actually the older model seat, so it's going to be a little reclined. Irrespective of that, each one of these seats is going to hold 50 pounds. So again, the new version of this stroller, which is the black seat, would sit more upright. This is the older model, but that's just to show that the seats are identically sized and 2 50-pound children in each position here. Now, you do lose your basket when you've got the older one down here on the bottom, but I will show you a solution for that. You would most likely have 2 kids of different ages, and what I would suggest to do is to buy stroller hooks, which are pieces like this. These are from a brand called OXO. They're pretty inexpensive. I think the set is $20. And they just Velcro onto the frame. I am partial to ones that Velcro onto the frame. I don't like anything that's like a carabiner that can scratch a frame. Obviously there's carabiners on here, but the idea is that it'll go on, and then we'll just hook our diaper bag, which this is big and full of stuff, up to it, just like that. You could even scoot that down a little bit if you wanted more support. But as you can see, we're still able to get in and out over here. I've got my stuff over here. There's also a cell phone pocket on the back of this seat, this black seat here, so I could keep my cell phone in there, and we're all good to go. So again, with no additional purchase, we're able to do all of this for that $950. For UppaBaby, it's not going to be that simple or that cost effective, which isn't the end of the world, but it's just a difference. So UppaBaby is going to utilize what's called stadium style seating. What you see on the NUNA right here, this is called an inline double. UppaBaby is going to do stadium style seating. And so what that means is that when we're ready to do our double, we can do 2 different things. We can buy a second seat, because the seat that comes with the stroller is not the seat that's going to clip onto the front. That's usually really shocking and disappointing to people, and I don't know how they fell in love with this stroller without doing any research, but just to show, well, probably because their friends have it, but irrespective, the seats are different sizes. So this seat here that I'm shaking, that's the rumble seat. That's sold separately. That's the seat that clips onto the front, and that's the seat that has a 35-pound weight limit. This seat over here, this is called the toddler seat. This has a 50-pound weight limit, and this will only sit on the top portion of the stroller. So like I said, we could buy a rumble seat for $220. But if you're like, nope, that's stupid, I don't want to spend that much money, there is a solution where you can buy 2 sets of adapters and use most of the stuff that you already have. So this upper adapter set is $30. This is the toddler seat that came with the stroller. And this is the one position that I'm going to be able to do if I want to go the cheap expansion route. The next thing are lower adapters. Those hook on to the lower part of the stroller. They are color organized, thank goodness. So if you have a yellow one, you're going to match it up to the yellow side of the stroller, and blue to blue. UppaBaby does a nice job with that. So this lower adapter set is $30. So our grand total for this expansion kit is $60. So if you're like, okay, well, that's not terrible, I understand that. But the difference here is going to be, this is how you can set it up for the inexpensive expansion pack. So that's your $60 turning it into a double option. Now, if we want to do the way that people actually use this product, what we would do is we would take the toddler seat, we would put that away, we would take our car seat, move it up here to the top spot, And then shockingly, these adapters come off, and the rumble seat comes with its own set of rumble seat adapters. So it's not like you can just buy adapters and make any old seat clip on the front. They've made it really, really specific, which is totally fair because it's a safety thing. But you'll hook up your rumble seat adapters, and now we're going to be able to put our rumble seat on the front of the stroller. And again, this is a little futzy, but you'd probably commit to one mode of using this and then just go with that. You're not going to be like swapping it around to try and show people on YouTube videos. So now we'll put our rumble seat on the front of the stroller. And again, 35-pound weight limit. And remember, rumble seat does not have an adjustable foot plate. It's just going to sit how it sits. So yeah, this is sort of your setup for 2 children with both products. Vista is going to be more expensive. Not because it costs more up front, but in order to do all of the things that you want to do, you're going to have to spend, like to get to this point, you're going to have to spend an additional $250. So we're at $1,250 to use this one, versus here, we're still at $950. So that's the difference. The other difference is the physics of the stroller. So I like to show with these little dollies. We've got a 14-pounder. That's going to go in the car seat. And then I have my 30-pound toddler. It's actually 28 pounds. Because everyone wants their toddler sitting out in the front. So I don't disagree that this on paper seems like a really good idea. Where it becomes bad, and this is true of all of the strollers that are this style, it's endemic of the physics of this kind of stroller. You're putting your bigger, heavier kid over your littler, swiveling front tires. You take something that pushes beautifully, and now it pushes a lot more like a bus, really front heavy, because our bigger, older child is there. Additionally, if we come to a curb and want to pop the stroller up and over a curb, the amount of force that I have to use, oh my God, is a lot. And if I have the handle long, I've got to kind of jump to get that front piece to lift up. So in the stroller's defense, they would argue to have the weight situation flipped around, but if you want your newborn up close next to you, of course the lighter weight one's going to be on the top and the heavier one's going to be on the bottom. So this shows you with a 28-pound child, if we move these pieces over to our other stroller, obviously the physics here is completely different, because as you see, all the weight is over the rear of the stroller. And I could take that front bar off. That would make that a little easier. But if I'm walking and I come to a curb, I'm able to push the whole thing with one arm. There's literally no effort. So the push is superior here for when you have weight in the product. And that's not because it's built better. It's because of the physics of how this is done. If I reverse these two, if I put the heavier one on top and the baby on the bottom, it's going to be the same story. The Vista is a little bit lighter, so the Vista clocks in at 27 pounds. The Demi Next, realistically, is probably like 32 or 33 pounds, and that's with the seats on them. Without the seats on them, the frame of the Vista is 20, and I think the frame of the Demi Next is like 24, so they're pretty close. There's some pieces on the Demi Next that are heavier, like the rear tires, because they've got some plastic pieces on them so that the kids can't ever pinch their fingers in them. It makes it just a little bit heavier. The other thing to know about Demi Next that's different from Vista is that Demi Next has an adjustable suspension. So there's 2 gray pieces on the bottom of the back of the frame. They flip up or down depending on if you're on smooth terrain or if you're on rockier terrain. So they both have lockable front tires, but it is cool that on the Demi Next, you have the option to do the adjustable suspension. So those are going to be your main differences. The rider boards on both of these, as I said, the Vista, you can buy the rider board sold separately, and that would run you $135. So your Vista with the bassinet and the stand, you're at $1160. And then the rider board would be $135. I don't know, I came up with $1360 somehow. And then like the matching Demi Next was gonna be $950, bassinet and stand is $400. 10, 11, 12, 1300. Yeah, so with all the pieces together, they're like pretty much the same price. I do think the NUNA is slightly cheaper, like with all the bells and whistles and similar things. I think it came out to being about $100 less, but it just depends on which style makes more sense for you and which one makes more sense for your lifestyle. If you think having an enormous basket is the most important thing in the world and a bassinet is really, really critical, then I think the Vista is going to hit those notes a little bit better. If you like the practicality of how something pushes with an inline style versus a stadium seating, you don't mind doing maybe more side storage, and your bigger preference is on the greater value and the included rider board, then I think Demi Next is the way to go. So again, both fabulous, just slightly different, both about 25 inches wide. Both of them are wide and both of them are big when they are folded. So I think I'll end the video maybe just by folding both of them for the viewing audience, but I do want to remove all the extra bits and bobs and turn them back into singles, because I think people frequently think one's way bigger than the other, but I would argue they're both huge. I wouldn't really want to have to deal with either, like carrying all through an airport, but luckily both of them have travel bags sold separately. UppaBaby, I believe, has a 2-year warranty, can be extended up to 3. I'm pretty sure NUNA has something similar. I know for sure standard 2-year, but I don't know if they go up to an additional 3rd. Take this off. And like I said, I am good to my products, but these floor models, they do get thrown around and they stay in great shape. So, you know, the stuff is well built. Put the seat back on here. We'll get it folded and then we'll all get out of here, go home, have a good evening. So now to fold either of them, it's a 2-handed fold. Vista, I make the handle long, fold it up, footrest comes down. Demi Next, pretty much same story. Engage the fold, have it fold up, lock, handle comes down, bar comes down. So, yeah, if you ask me, they're both horribly heavy and they're both huge. As I would tell my customers, why you wouldn't remove the seats and carry them as 2 smaller pieces versus one big idiot thing, that's beyond me. If that's your prerogative, go nuts. You know, lifting every big idiot heavy thing into your trunk. You're far better off doing 2 smaller things. I will also point out the handle on the Demi Next is really nice, and when you open Demi Next, it can be, it can be one-handed. Like that. Vista, same story. To open it one-handed, the latch is over here. Press it, let it kick out. Ooh, can it? It can. Then you open it up. I wouldn't recommend it, but it can be done. Okay. Yeah, so Demi Next, NUNA Vista V2. If you have questions or you have comments, please feel free to leave them below. If you want to like or subscribe to this channel, we would love that. If there is something about this video that makes sense for you to share it with one of your friends, we would encourage you to do that as well. We appreciate every viewer, every view. Thank you so much for watching. Again, any questions, just let us know. We are thrilled to have you with us. We hope to see you in our next video. Enjoy your evening.